Basics. It's Dana, Ms. Danadress, and I'm your vlogger for today. So this week we're talking about lifetime fat kid syndrome, or fat girl syndrome, and skinny kid then fat adult syndrome. The question is about what's our opinion about whether there really is a difference, whether you were kind of a lifelong fat person, or whether you were thin and then gained weight as an adult. Which one we were, kind of how has it played a role in our journey, and advice that folks that we wish we'd gotten. So I was a lifetime fat girl, was a big baby, was kind of sickly and as a toddler and had my tonsils out at 5, and then my mother said I just blossomed from there. I was the first girl in school that I remember, elementary school, that started developing breasts. I lived in the chubby sizes forever, and my mom even used to make a lot of my clothes when I was in the in the girl sizes. Can't remember what was it. Wasn't husky. I can't remember what they called the girl sizes, but yeah, I was in those sizes, and I was pretty much always the largest, with probably few exceptions, the largest person, not tallest, but weight-wise, the largest person in all my classes, all through high school, college. When I was in high school, I did get down at one point in time, like my senior year in high school, and then freshman year in college, I got down to like a size 18. That didn't last very long. So, yeah, I consider myself a lifetime fat kid. I do think that in your weight loss surgery journey, we all bring our own history and our own perspectives, and this is one dimension that I do think does play probably a pretty significant role in most people's journeys. It did me. The biggest ways is, first of all, I did not even have a clue what to expect as far as goal weight, what to expect in what I would look like once I got into, below a certain weight. I definitely had never had some experiences like shopping just, in normal sizes. So the smallest I'd ever been as an adult, as far as weight-wise, was 175. That was for a very short time, when I was probably been 14 years or so ago now. I had never shopped, worn anything smaller than a size 14 clothes since probably junior high. When I, went to my surgeon and we talked about what potential weight I might be, he wasn't a BMI pusher, I would say, but he showed me the BMI chart, and the BMI chart, I'm 5'6", and the BMI chart said 154 is the top of what you be to be normal weight. And I went, 154 pounds, there's no way in hell that will ever happen. I had no frame of reference ever. And so, he said, well, what do you want your goal to be? And I said, 175. And he said, okay, that's fine, but I honestly think that you'll probably be able to do better than that, or, get lower than that. And I did. And I was shocked. Shocked. To the point that, crying emotionally at certain points when you hit certain weights. Like, I just can't believe it. looking at mirrors, going out shopping, having people call me thin or say, "You're so tiny." That is all surreal to me. It never happened ever to me growing up. And so it has really, for me, been, fun and thrilling, but it has been a lifetime, a kind of, crazy mess with your brain. To the point that I remember, I've had this conversation with a couple times, but one that I really will remember was my first WLSFA event in Vegas, and that would have been 2013, I guess. And I met a lot of new friends there, but I was walking around with Charisse. And Charisse, I don't even know if you watch videos anymore or not, but lovely person who was, I think, newer with her surgery than I was. And we were walking around, and I was right about 170 then, maybe 100, maybe 10 to 15 pounds even more than what I weigh now. But anyway, we were walking around, and I don't know what specifically we'd been talking about, but we'd been looking at clothes and this and that, and just talking about how people reacted to me and to us, as you get thinner. And she said something to me about, I was talking about, it's, things are strange, and she said, "You don't get it. You're not the fat girl anymore." And I said, "You're right." And I kind of cried. I did cry. Not one kind of. I cried. And I was like, "You're right. I don't get it. But I'm not that fat girl anymore." And so for me, I've had to stop. I still sometimes have to stop. It took me months and months and months before I started going to the right size clothes. Before I quit being scared to sit in a chair. Still, when I talk about my weight and I think in my head I weigh blah 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 blah, it always starts in my head with a 2 and not a 1. And if sometimes my husband and I are talking, and we'll say, "What did you weigh today?" Because he's also trying to lose some weight, and I'll say I weighed 2, and he looks at me like, "What?" So that's just because I weighed that forever and ever and ever. So really, I don't know that anyone could have given me advice about how to deal with that. People told me up front that this was a head trip. I don't think I ever knew how much of a head trip it was going to be. I never knew that I could, change as much as I have in my body. What I think is interesting, and here's the contrast, I think that in a way, though, I've had it easier than people who were thin and then got fat as they were older, especially if you had some adult life as a thin person, if you knew yourself as a grown-up being thin. I know several people who, gained their weight in their 30s or beyond, and so they remember themselves as being, 18 and thin, or 17 and thin, or 22 and thin. And in fact, when they set their goal weight, they set their goal weights way back what they weighed when they were, 20 years old. And now they may be, 30 years older, 20 years older. And they look at their bodies and they're unhappy because they haven't gotten down to that goal weight. Because even if they have, their bodies are older and they don't look the same way. And so some of those people, I feel like that I know have been unhappier in their journey than I have been, always being a fat girl. Because for me, anything was better than where I had been. And I think, if I were to give advice to someone who gained weight as an adult, it would be, you know, don't expect that you're going to lose all your weight and then your body is going to be like it was 10, 15, 20 years ago when you were early skinny. Don't set yourself up for that expectation. If you're lucky, maybe it will be, but you know, let me tell you, as I'm looking at myself and looking at these wrinkles here, every day I look in the mirror and say, gosh, you look much older, and I don't feel old. And in fact, I feel free in my body and younger, and you know, can do things now that I could never do even when I was 18. So let's see. I think that is the end of the questions. I'll be curious to hear any response videos and the rest of the vloggers. Hey, if you can remember, what was it that Sears called their plus size little girls sizes? I can't remember what they called it. Tell me, write it in comments. And you know, I'd love to hear your experience. How do you think that being a lifelong fat girl, boy, or being a, you know, getting fatter when you were adult, did that make a difference for you? Yes, I used the fat word a lot this week. I didn't use obese. Okay. I just like the F word. I don't like the F word, but it's easier to say. And I'm just conditioned that way. So hopefully I didn't offend anybody about this. But talk to you later. Have a good one.